Welcome to this explainer. I'm Dr. Chem, and today we're going to fundamentally flip how you view the ground beneath your feet. We're diving straight into the analytical chemistry of agriculture, specifically focusing on how we determine soil pH and overall fertility. If you're studying environmental science, maybe you're an agronomist, or honestly, just a massive chemistry nerd like me who loves understanding hidden ecosystems, you are absolutely in the right place. So let's jump right in.
Here's our game plan for today. We'll start with the roots of soil fertility, literally. Then we'll cover cation exchange and nutrients, measuring soil pH, determining organic carbon, interpreting all that soil health data, and finally, correcting acidity for better crop yields.
So I want you to think about something right off the bat. What actually makes soil truly fertile? We really need to rethink soil here. It's not just a bunch of dead dirt. It's this incredibly dynamic, living chemical ecosystem where millions of molecular exchanges dictate every single day whether a crop is going to thrive or totally fail.
All right, Section 1, the roots of soil fertility. Let's establish our baseline.
Okay, let's look at this core definition. Soil fertility is essentially a soil's ability to sustain agricultural plant growth. But here's the kicker. It has to provide adequate nutrients and water while maintaining a total absence of toxic substances. That balance is absolutely crucial. Fertility isn't just about dumping tons of nutrients into the dirt. It's a super precise chemical balancing act. You're trying to provide essentials like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium while simultaneously keeping toxicities from elements like free iron or aluminum completely at bay.
Which brings us to Section 2, cation exchange and nutrients. Let's zoom way in and see how soil actively holds on to its food.
This is so cool. The negative charges on soil, clay, and organic matter particles basically act exactly like a giant battery. They literally attract and hold on to positively charged elements which, as we know, are called cations. Elements like hydrogen, aluminum, potassium, calcium, and magnesium. They all physically cling to that negatively charged soil surface.
And this leads us to a massive concept, cation exchange capacity, or CEC. This is simply the total capacity of the soil to hold on to those positively charged cations. It's a fantastic, reliable indicator of general soil fertility. Think about coarse, sandy soils. They naturally have a really low CEC because they're missing that clay and organic matter. But on the flip side, high clay or high organic matter soils, they have a massive CEC. They hold on to plant nutrients like a sponge, dramatically reducing the risk of those precious nutrients just leaching away into the groundwater.
Now, here is the magic number to remember, greater than 80%. When we analyze all the cations held by the soil, we split them into basic, nutrient-rich cations like calcium, magnesium, and potassium, and acidic cations. The percentage of that total CEC occupied by the good stuff, the basic cations, is called the base saturation. And for optimum agricultural yields, most crops really need that base saturation to be north of 80%.
Okay, let's take this from molecular theory straight to the lab bench in Section 3, measuring soil pH.
Now hold up. Before we start mixing soil suspensions or playing with reagents, we have to talk safety. Strict laboratory precautions are completely non-negotiable in analytical chemistry. You need safety glasses, gloves, and lab coats on at all times. Spills and splashes happen, and we do not mess around with chemical safety.
All right, let's walk through the standard operating procedure for determining soil pH using the Food and Agricultural Organization's guidelines. Remember, pH is just measuring the hydrogen ion concentration. We start by weighing exactly 10.0 grams of our air-dried soil sample into a beaker. Then, we add 25 milliliters of deionized or distilled water. That gives us a perfect 1 to 2.5 soil-to-water ratio. Now, we shake that mixture thoroughly for a solid 60 minutes. It takes some patience, or just a really good mechanical shaker, to ensure total homogenization. Finally, we take a calibrated pH meter with a glass electrode, and we measure the unstirred supernatant liquid at exactly 25 degrees Celsius.
What's wild is seeing how extremes on either end of the pH scale just wreak havoc on plant health. If our lab results show a highly acidic soil, anything below 5.5, we're looking at suppressed microbial activity, soils that literally repel water, and a huge risk of aluminum and manganese reaching toxic levels. But swing the pendulum the other way to highly alkaline soils above 7.5, and vital nutrients like iron get completely locked out. That causes plants to turn yellow, a condition called iron chlorosis, and phosphorus ends up chemically binding with calcium, rendering it totally useless to the plant. So we've got our pH. Now we need to quantify the biological side of things. Welcome to Section 4, determining organic carbon.
Soil organic matter is the engine of this entire ecosystem.
It's made of decaying plants, animals, and microbes, and it basically exists in two states: fast-cycling particulate forms and slow-cycling mineral-associated forms that can literally stick around for thousands of years. Both of these are absolute pillars for maintaining a strong cationic exchange capacity and overall fertility.
To actually quantify that organic carbon in the lab, we use a classic piece of analytical chemistry, the Walkley-Black wet oxidation method. We take a 1-gram soil sample, hit it with potassium dichromate, and then very carefully add 20 milliliters of concentrated sulfuric acid. This oxidizes the organic carbon. Then comes the fun part. We titrate the solution with ferrous sulfate. We're watching for a highly distinct color shift going from blue to a deep maroon or red against a white background. When it shifts, boom, that's our chemical endpoint.
Once the titration is done, the benchwork stops and the math starts. We take the variables from our experiment, the volume of titrant used for our sample, the volume for our blank control, the exact weight of the soil, and a moisture correction factor, and plug them all into a standard formula. This calculates the exact, precise percentage of organic carbon sitting in that soil sample.
All right, we've got our CEC, our pH, and our organic carbon. Let's make sense of it all in Section 5, Interpreting Soil Health Data.
When you're staring at that lab data, the pH range of 6.0 to 7.5 is the absolute holy grail for most crops. This is the sweet spot where microbial diversity is booming, soil respiration is high, and most importantly, essential macronutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium are highly soluble and perfectly primed for root absorption.
But hey, it's not a one-size-fits-all scenario. Crop selection totally changes the game. While something like alfalfa demands a near-neutral pH of 6.5 to 7.5 to support its nitrogen-fixing bacteria, you've got plants like azaleas and pineapples that absolutely crave highly acidic soils, way down in the 4.5 to 5.5 range. You have to match your crop to your soil chemistry or you're fighting an uphill battle.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 6, Correcting Acidity for Yields. What do you do when your soil chemistry just doesn't match your farming goals?
The good news is, armed with our precise fertility analysis, we don't have to just accept the soil we're dealt. We can actively fix it. Got highly acidic soil? We apply lime, like calcium carbonate or dolomite, to sweeten it up and raise the pH. Dealing with highly alkaline soil, we drop in sulfur-containing amendments. And here's something crucial. Agronomists have to account for our own interventions. Using ammonium-based nitrogen fertilizers naturally releases hydrogen ions, which means we are actively acidifying the soil over time. That's exactly why continuous testing, crop rotation, and cover cropping are so essential to keeping everything balanced.
So we've traveled from the microscopic behavior of cations, ground through some rigorous wet chemistry lab procedures, and landed right on actionable field strategies. Soil pH determination and fertility assessment aren't just academic exercises, they are completely non-negotiable tools for maximizing agricultural productivity and driving sustainable farming. I'll leave you with this. After seeing the profound chemical impact of every element in the dirt, will you perform a comprehensive, laboratory-grade soil analysis before your next fertilizer application? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning, keep analyzing, and never stop exploring the chemistry of the world around us.